Greetings, Dr. Jimmy again. It's still Sunday, June 5th. And I mentioned this on Twitter. This is an historic day for fans of the band ABBA, the Swedish pop group with many wonderful songs such as Mamma Mia and what's the other one they sang? Fernando or whatever it was. There was something in the air that night. My cat will bite. No, it's not quite right, but that's what she does. Mean kitty. Let's see all those other funny songs. Dancing Queen. No jokes, please. Voulez-vous. Lots of wonderful songs, and perhaps my favourite, Take a Chance on Me. Take a chance, take a chance. Yes, I like that song. And what's important today is on this day, 50 years ago to the day, June 5th, 1966, Benny and Bjorn, the two B's in the middle of ABBA, met for the first time. They were both in their own bands. One was called like something like the Hep Stars, and the other was the Hootenannies or something like that. And they happened to meet up in Sweden in a particular place, and they became friends almost immediately. Then a couple of years later, together with the two girls, they formed the band ABBA and won Eurovision, and later became huge stars worldwide, and the rest is historical or hysterical. I just thought I'd bring that up because there's always a chance that you might hear some of this music and enjoy it someday. Maybe. That sounds crazy. Well, not so crazy as getting locked up in Shady Brook crazy, but still crazy, I suppose. What am I blathering on about? It's time now for another History of Halloween Horror Nights 22 video. This is part 7, I think. Did I just do 6? I think so. Last night I did 3, 4, 5, and... Oh, no, I did 6 last night. I did 7 before. This is part 8. 8. Part 8. Okay, let's get that straight. It's 8. Alright, part 8. And in my previous video, I had mentioned, or actually I had started talking about Universal's House of Horrors. Now, again, this was the one that they sold in a pitch in the last minute because they tore down Building 44 and the whole Chupacabra house was already starting to get built, and it got torn down, and they had to come up with something lightning quick. And they started building this house a lot later than you would expect in order to get it in time, usually to get the tents knocked out quickly, the parade building knocked out quickly, but this time they didn't even start building in there until it was already kind of into the midsummer. And so by the time Horror Nights came around, it was ready for the event, but the paint wasn't dry, let's put it that way. In fact, opening weekend, following weekend, there were more props and more things painted. They were still building the house. They were still working on the house when the event began, basically. I mean, all the scares were in there, but they were still working on the scenic a little bit and doing some more paintings and touching up and putting in some more props from the first night to the second weekend, which I thought was, I've never seen that before, but it still worked. So they set it up as one of those montage houses for classic Universal monsters, and you go in, it's like you hear some of the various dialogue, and it's like there's old cans of film and stuff and a projector, so you feel like you're going into a film vault or something, but then all of a sudden you're going into the movies, and it's all black and white, or trying to make it as black and white as they can. And the first scene, I think, was the Wolfman, and it reminded me of the Wolfman house, where you go past the gypsy village and the forest and the trees, except that it's all monochrome, and of course the flashing of the strobes. So you're getting, the trees. It's like, oh my God, it's kind of jarring. The jarring effect you had in that exposure, and you can see floating in mid-air almost the pentacle. That's the 5-pointed star that was a symbol of the Wolfman on that poor cursed bastard Larry Talbot's palm. And you saw that, and then the Wolfman's there, all growly and snarly and ready to, bite you. The way he walks is thorny, yes, but sure as the river runs to the sea, right? It's echoed. Maria Uspinskaya told us, right? It's the Wolfman, growly, snarly, poor cursed bastard. Amazing thing about the Wolfman, Larry Talbot can wear like a Guido shirt, right? Like one of those sleeveless T-shirts, and light grey pants, and he starts turning into the Wolfman. And then when he is the Wolfman going through the forest, he's wearing a long sleeve black button-up shirt and a different pair of trousers. How the fuck did that happen? Did he, after he turns into Wolfman, did he change his clothes before he goes out in the woods? What? I'm sorry. Go back and watch the Wolfman. You'll see what I mean. It always blows my mind. What the fuck, you know? But because they couldn't afford yak hair for his bare arms and top of his chest. They didn't have enough yak hair, and so they changed it. They didn't bother changing the transformation scene to begin with. I don't know. Anyway, he's out, and so you go from there to Dracula, and you go into chambers where there's a coffin, and the coffin, there's someone trying to come out of it, and that fucking coffin scared the hell out of me by not even moving, but because of the strobe lighting, and I didn't see it when I first put it, boom, it's in my face, and I got a good scare from a static prop. Motherfucker. So I thought, this must be a decent house if a static prop can give me a good scare. Right, so I go through that, and this cat is being so cute in the door, but we can't see her because she's over on the other side of the computer, but she's rolling around the desk with her paws up in the air. Yeah. Oh well, never mind. So you've got that, and let's see what's that. So yeah, you go through there, and of course you have the brides of Dracula in that room, and they pop out at you, and they pop out at you, and they're quite fantastic, and you can't see it because it's to the other side of the computer. But I took a photo so you can see what Bob's doing. Why I thought it was so adorable, because she's rolling around like that. Hope she doesn't knock the modem over, or the whole thing's going to crash. Alrighty then. But getting back to what I was saying, the brides are in there coming at you with these big nasty teeth, and then you go through another long corridor, and there's the image of Nosferatu appears briefly on the wall. It's a silhouette. And then another long, scary corridor with all sorts of curtains and this armor and a painting of Vlad the Impaler, a historically accurate one, actually. And so you don't know when he's going to pop out. And then at the end of the corridor, suddenly there's the Count himself, appears quite startlingly, almost manifesting out of nothingness, practically, and he gets at you. And I was happy to see the visage on his face was indeed Bela Lugosi, and not some generic Dracula. So I guess they got the rights to use his face again for things like this, because back in '91 they couldn't even put his face on the Fright Nights brochure. I don't remember the proper sequence of all the different characters after this. I think it was the Phantom of the Opera. You go in there, and there he is. Eric is at his organ. Dun, dun. You know, whatever he's playing, he's got the creepy mask with a little skull cap on top, just like in the movie, a little fringe along the front. But then you go down another sort of dungeon-like corridor, and all of a sudden there he is, the Phantom, ready to get you and come after you. I think they had some of the air vent things, you know, there's bursts of air along there as well. And then it's into the dungeons of Dr. Frankenstein, yes. I think was next, I'm not certain, but I think Frankenstein Monster had to come up shortly after this. And you could see the laboratory of Frankenstein, and the Doctor himself was in there, as well as the monster. Arrgh, comes at you from the other side. But if you look off in the corner, this is really clever, you would see in silhouette of little Hans the Hunchback hung from the neck because he was being such a douche to the monster with the torch. I remember Dwight Fry with the torch, and the monster then fucking killed him, and it was a good thing too because the guy was a douche. Then he got blamed for it. The sedative! Get the sedative! And that's young Frankenstein. Never mind. No, that was, they did charades for the sedative, that's right, I remember that. They didn't have young Frankenstein in the house, just regular Frankenstein, the old one. No, that would have been a different sort of house altogether. But it would have had terrific knockers. And a really big Schweinstücker. All right, what was next? Then there's a laboratory scene. The monster comes raging through, practically bursts through the doorway at you. It scares the crap out of you. The bride is, you're distracted because you're looking at the bride. She's in the room and she's just, you know, the lurching noises and looking quite glamorous with the big Nefertiti hairstyle. Then all of a sudden, crashing through a barricade, coming down a long hallway, is the Frankenstein. He's jealous you're missing with his lady. That's what it is. I don't remember which was next. It was either the creature or the mummy. The mummy room is the one where you had to duck. And you had to duck. It's like all the Egyptian hieroglyphics and everything. And you had to duck. And you had to go down underneath some netting. And there were mummies came out of the wall at you. And of course, Imhotep himself is waiting at the end. This is the Boris Karloff Imhotep. And only at the very beginning of the movie is he like that. And the rest of the movie, he's, you know, wearing like a robe and a fez. But they had him out from the beginning of the movie. You know, the mummy, it was bandages up. Unless it was Karis, Lon Chaney mummy from the later movies. I don't know. But very, very effective. And the creature scenes, you're in the lagoon itself. And it's all done with, and it's like there's water above you. The idea is you're supposed to be underwater, and there's like a boat above you. So you get the idea you're under the water, and the creature is on the side. They do a lot of neat lighting effects to make it appear like he's swimming or he's under the water, and then he comes out with his big webbed hands and stuff. And that was quite nifty as well. And I think that's all of them that were in the house. And at the end, what you did is you got all of them at once in a huge room where all the creatures, all the monsters, the phantom, the creature, the monster, the bride, Dracula, the Wolfman, all of them are there at once coming out. You never know which one's going to be next. And what's weird about the room is it's all film strips, all like strips of film, like strips of cinema, you know, you know, film strips, and they're all hanging. And if you look at the film strips, the pictures of the monsters are actually on them, so it's rather clever. And they're all hanging around. It's disorienting because the walls in that frickin' room are mirrored, and so you aren't quite sure which way you have to go. The first time I went in there, it was like, holy fuck, what am I couldn't figure out where the exit was. And everywhere I went was another creature. And then I looked ahead of me, and the most horrific, frightening thing was coming right at me. This strange, bloated thing with long, straggly blonde hair and glasses. Oh my God! Oh, that was my reflection. Never mind. And then I found the exit door. I think some nice operations fellow in black. Tap, tap, tap. Over there, please. You know, thank you. So I actually liked that house. It was probably one of my favorite houses that year. I mean, I actually went so far as to call it my favorite house of the event for a while, because I was trying to, you know, buck them up, because they worked so hard to get it done in time. And if you got to admit, for something they pulled out of their butt at the last minute, they did a damn fine job on this. I've been to other houses where they had planned months in advance and worked on it on schedule, and then when it finally got it, it wasn't anywhere near as good. In fact, it was better than the Walking Dead house or the Silent Hill house, definitely. And I'd say probably better than all the IP houses. I would rank it at least second or third, if not even first. Right up there with Dead End and Gothic. I think it's neck to neck for favorite with Gothic. At different days, I like different houses better, but those three are my favorites. Gothic, Dead End, and the House of Horrors, the Universal House of Horrors. They were awesome. And sometimes I really have to give it to Universal House, because I love the classic monsters. I got all the little Funko Pops over there on my shelf. I got Dracula, Frankenstein, Bride, Wolfman, Mummy, Creature, the same exact ones. They're all there. And the Phantom too. The Phantom's on the end. So all the same ones are up on the shelf now that I think about it. My God, those are the 7 guys that were in the house. What fun. And you know, I enjoyed it very much. I thought it was wonderful. And nifty little house. So we come to the cocktail I made up for Universal's House of Horrors, because that will be the next one. And let's see if I can find it. Let's see, that's not it, that's not it. Oh, there it is. And that one I made up, I said, a black and white cocktail made with layers of Kahlua, white creme de cacao, and Godiva chocolate liqueur, made in 3 layers, floated, so that it looked like, you know, black, grey and white. So it was like a black and white. It was actually more of a brown, but still it gave that look to try to make a black and white cocktail that would be appropriate for the black and white house, or at least they tried to make it as black and white as they could. And here's the cocktail, and of course it was, I don't know if you can see it quite, will get the quite good effect there. That's better. Right there you can see the different layers. See, it was served up in a martini glass like that, and layered very carefully by the very talented bartenders. I don't know if I could make something like that at home, because I don't have those skills. But of course it had the different layers, you know, the different, and it was sweet and lovely and a bit like scary old movies. And the candy you eat while you watch scary old movies. So I love that. It was good. Okay, 2 houses left. These were the ones in the sprung tents, or the World Expo warehouses, if you want to be really technical. And the 6th house then was the one in sprung tent 1. It was Alice Cooper, Welcome to My Nightmare. And you know, they've had all sorts of IPs over the years. They've had houses that were based on movies and television programs, even reality television programs, Fear Factor, based on books like the works of Edgar Allan Poe. And they've had, and of course, the first video game inspired house was the Silent Hill house that year. And then of course they do Resident Evil next year, which is even more video gamed. But they had a video game, sort of indoor scare zone kind of thing called Night Creatures years before. Wasn't on any list of scare zone houses, but it was just like a scare zone, except it was indoors, inside the King Kong ride, remember? Inside the... Sorry about that. I forgot what year it was, 2000 maybe, 99, somewhere in there, and it was on the streets of New York under the tramway of the King Confrontation, that Night Creatures attraction. That was quite delightful. It was just like a scare zone, but it was inside, kind of weird. But this was the first one that was based on a recording on a CD, well not a CD, a recording, yes, music. Can you see it? It seems kind of dark, I don't know why. Now you can see it. Turn it that way, it's in the light. Alice Cooper, Welcome to My Nightmare is an album. Originally on vinyl, of course. This is a CD, but I don't have a turntable, so I wouldn't have the LP, would I? There's no point having LP if you don't have a turntable. It's a concept album containing the tracks Welcome to My Nightmare, Devil's Food, The Black Widow, Some Folks, Only Women Bleed, Department of Youth, Cold Ethel, Years Ago, Stephen, The Awakening, and Escape. Those were the original tracks. There's some bonus tracks on here. We won't get into those. Also, Alice Cooper famously made a television special, Welcome to My Nightmare, which had one of my favorite people of all time, Vincent Price, was in that. Yes, Vincent Price. I met him once when I was in college. I think I was about 18, 19 years old. I think 19. I met him, and I was doing some acting at the university then. So we met with the drama classes one-on-one with just a small handful of the time. Not only did he give like a lecture where you could maybe ask a question, and you know, he showed up for the class unannounced, and there he was to talk to us about acting. And I thought, oh my God, it was like the dream come true, because he was like my idol. And he's like 6'4", big guy. I didn't realize how tall he was, but he was really amazing, generous and kind person. So I was really, really happy to meet him, because he only lived a few more years after that. But Vincent Price, maybe 10 more years after that, roughly, or a little bit less than 10 more years. But Vincent Price, though, he appeared with Alice Cooper on that television special, so I like it for that too. But it's a concept album about a boy named Stephen who kind of goes out of his fucking mind. You know, he has problems, his parents, there's kids at school, other things, women do him wrong, that sort of thing. Listen to the music on the album, it sort of tells a story. So it's a concept album made into a haunted house. I mean, what's next, Tommy? Don't give him ideas, Dr. Jimmy. Or you're going to find the Acid Queen and the Pinball Wizard as characters at HHN. No, don't give me any ideas. Anyway, but this was, that was the concept. And before I finish this, because it's getting down to the wire, one of the nights I was going into the house, there's some kids, like teenage kids, and they saw me, and I was wearing an Alice Cooper t-shirt. I have an Alice Cooper Welcome My Nightmare t-shirt with this same logo on it, with the magician outfit and the triangle, like the hat. So I was wearing that, and they saw me, and, oh, you must know who Alice Cooper is. And I said, yeah. I said, well, who is she? They were like, oh, God. God. It's like, what? Don't they teach these kids anything in school anymore? Or out of school, or whatever? I mean, they had no idea who Alice Cooper was, and they thought it was a woman. Jesus H. Christ. Do you think Marilyn Manson's a woman? Oh, God. You think Lady Gaga's a... Oh, wait, she is. But she has a penis. But maybe not. Anyway, that was a joke. The Lady Gaga thing, that was a meme a few years ago, but oh well. I'm running way out of time. I'll have to come back in part 9, I think, to continue with Welcome to My Nightmare, Alice Cooper House, and then Price Waterhouse, and the last house, it's a Penn and Teller nuked Las Vegas house. So I'll finish, hopefully, all the houses in the next video. Hopefully.